Okay, so hello and welcome to my HRCYED quarterly update. So this is going to be following the months of October, November and December, and just the things that I've changed so far with what I've allocated to what prompt. As you can see, I'm kind of in a new area. I've moved, so that's been very stressful, and that's kind of why this video has been late. A lot of things have been going on. I'm assuming you know what HRCYED is, but essentially it's this challenge created by the YouTuber Q or QWERTY, but it's essentially just a challenge to kind of try and extend your reading. So if you are interested in doing this for yourself, you can check the link down below. You can use any book that you read for only 2 prompts, so that's kind of the basic gist of it. Let's get started. I'm a little bit tired, if you got time. I'm starting my new job today, so things are just a little bit hectic. As you can see, I have not finished a single other prompt. I've gotten quite close, but things have not been completed. I've worked out the percentages of what I've completed, and I've only completed in total 41% of all the prompts. So I'm a little bit behind. Not a lot, but I'm gaining less and less confidence that I will be able to finish this challenge. Mostly just because at the start, especially, I'm kind of just been reading whatever I wanted and then just slotting those books into the prompts available to me. But as I'm going further into this challenge, I won't really be able to do that because certain books just won't be able to fit in certain prompts, and then others will be filled. You understand the vibe. It's going to be a little bit hectic. Let's start from the beginning. We're going to be going according to the bingo board. So we'll start with by the hundreds. So in this one, we have a bunch of new additions. I added a very short history of the Israel-Palestine conflicts into this. At first, it was only used for 1 prompt, but I realized I could use it for this because it's around 160 pages. Yeah, Bloom is still in the 200th spot. Coming in at 312 pages, we have We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer. So I gave this 5 stars. This was one of my favorite books of the year. I very rarely read horror, but I kind of wanted to delve into this. So the premise is that this woman invites a family into her home who claim to have lived in her house previously. So they kind of want to take a look around, and she feels uncomfortable, but she struggles to stand up for herself. So she lets them in, and she kind of really struggles to get them to leave. And it kind of slowly starts becoming very creepy, something's not right, like shit's wrong. Everything is wrong. I think the theorizing about this book was kind of my favorite part about this, like trying to figure out what actually happened, especially by the end, like what the fuck happened. I loved reading all the theories that people came up with. The pacing, like the way that it kind of builds this suspense, reminds me a lot of the Get Out movie, where it's like you don't really see something's necessarily wrong, but there's like this underlying feeling that something isn't quite right. So this book creeped me out. I think it actually caused a nightmare. So and that's exactly what you want from a horror. So 5 stars to that one. Then coming in at 412 is the Death Note Volume 3 Black Edition. So I gave this 4 stars. If you want to see my thoughts about that, I did a continuing series vlog. So you'll see some of the other books I read for that in here as well. Then we have another 5 stars in this category, and that is The Will of the Many. So The Will of the Many is kind of my favorite type of fantasy, where there's this school plot, there's politics, there's drama, there's a training arc, there's undercover shit. I love undercover shit, and there's like multiple layers of undercover shit, because our main character is going into this school setting to investigate something, but he has a secret identity, so no one knows about his secret identity. So he's kind of also doing this for his own gains. I love the characterization, I love the world building, I love the magic system. So it's this kind of will-based magic system. It's very hard to explain, but it's essentially everyone has will, and it's basically a pyramid scheme, but as a magic system, in the way that you give kind of half of your power up to someone that is in a higher position than you, and then they give half their power to someone higher than them, and so it builds this kind of triangle, like these pyramids of power. Will of the Many, excellent, 5-star reads. I think this is literally my favorite book of the year. I'm not completely sure, I haven't actually like ranked anything or gone through anything, so I don't know where this would lie. But I think it's my favorites. It gets compared to Red Rising a lot, but I like the way that this is written, and I feel like the characterization just, I don't know, it clicks with me a lot more than with Red Rising. Red Rising, I felt kind of a little bit of a disconnect. But our main character is Viz, or I call him Fissy because the way it's spelled is like a fis, so like a fish in Afrikaans. So he's my Fissy. He's a sweetheart. Just be kind of aware that he does kind of have this Mary Sue, like this protagonist halo around him. He's extremely capable as a main character, and that kind of makes his life, makes his job as this undercover person a lot easier. In at 700 pages, we have The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinniman, and this is the 5th book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, or around 4 stars. I really liked the progression of the story with this book, but just be aware that if you kind of get to this point, and I've been spreading out my Dungeon Crawler Carl reads, for this book especially, I had to kind of go back and read a summary of the previous books, because a lot of the previous plot points and characters kind of come back into play, and it's a little bit difficult if you're not really aware of what's happening. Okay, I still haven't done the 24-hour readathon. The subgenres of choice. Okay, so initially I wanted to work towards specific subgenres, like I had this idea that I was going to do specific ones, but I've kind of just popped in whatever I have read. I put the Wicked book into the fairy tale subgenre. I think it could also fit into something else, but it is more spaced on essentially a fairy tale. Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and you get what I'm saying. It's very fairy tale-esque, but I do think the story itself is quite dark, so I think it could work for other categories as well. If you think it should rather be put into one of the other subgenres, please let me know. The Secret Society of Irregular Witches used to be in the spooky creatures category for magic users, but I've put this now as my cozy fantasy. Then as my epic or high fantasy, this used to be in my rainbow, in the rainbow category, but now it's here as an epic and or high fantasy. Then The Gate of the Feral Gods. This was a 5-star. This is my favorite book of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series so far. I put this in the lit RPG category because if you don't know, it kind of follows this character who gets trapped in kind of this game-like system, and the humor is quite crass. It's very fun, and especially in this book, I think the pacing was just excellent. Everything was just brilliant. This was the book I read in my continuing series vlog, because this 4th one, was the one that made me want to read The Butcher's Masquerade so quickly after reading this, because it really intrigued me. I recommend to anyone that is like kind of a gamer, you want to start getting into reading. Okay, so next up we have award season. So I've blacked something out. That's something I've read now in January. So I put Golden Sun as a winner. It is the winner of the reader's favorite science fiction in the year 2015. Also read this in my continuing series vlog. I hated this. I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I gave this 2 stars. I hated the fast-paced way that this was written, but it was fast-paced in a way that made me unable to care about what was happening, because there was never a point where I could find stable ground. And the way that Pierce Brown wrote this book really or just his other book as well, but it really started grating on me in The Golden Sun. And then I also added I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. So this was a nominee for the Reader's Favorite Horror in the year 2024. This book I technically DNF'd, but I was able to add this due to secret prompt number 6. So you had to read a book that had another book of the same title. So the book I could use for this was Wicked, as there are quite a few other books that have the title Wicked. I could then add a DNF into my spreadsheet and put them into my prompts, and that was I Was a Teenage Slasher. I just DNF'd it. I think I might revisit it again someday, but I think the writing style just wasn't clicking for me at that point. Okay, and then next up, I still haven't done a TBR game challenge. Then for the last 10 years, so I have added Golden Sun into 2015 because that's when it came out. Another book I read for the continuing series video was Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. I gave this 3 stars. Bloom is still here. Julie Chan is Dead is still here. I added The Coin here into 2024. It's something I read for my previous, in the previous quarter, but I just decided to add it in here. Then the adaptations. This I have not changed, but I've actually completed the ones that I wanted to. So I've now read the Wicked book. I've not yet watched the musical. And then I've watched the Wicked for Good movie. So, and as you can see here, I thought Heated Rivalry would be the perfect TV show to put in here as my TV show adaptation of a book. That's happening this year, trust. So the next one is our Disability Rep Challenge. So I technically do have 2 more that I've added that I've read at the start of this year. But I was kind of really becoming a little bit stressed. Before I read those 2 books, I was like, I feel like I'm not really contributing to this prompt that much. And then at one fucking point, I just started reading. Like, just randomly, I was just reading stuff, and I realized that a lot of what I was reading, am reading, or have read could actually fit into this prompt. So the only thing I've added in here for now, added The Coin by Yasmin Zahir. The main character has OCD, or it's assumed that she has OCD. She is never diagnosed with this condition, but I do think it affects her daily life in quite an extreme way at times. Not 100% sure if it fits into this category. If anyone else has read this book and they can let me know, please let me know. But if this doesn't work, I at least know I do have other things that I can put here. Then for Heritage Months, for Hispanic Heritage Month, I read Monstrilio by Gerardo, Sámano, Córdova, and I gave this 3 stars. It's a very strange book. For that, I must give it prompts. It's also very queer. I'd say it's like a 3.5, it's a high 3. The writing is very interesting. You're reading out of multiple POVs. But we start off kind of with a woman that has lost her son. So her son has died because he was terminally ill. She decides to cut out a piece of his lung, the lung that kind of caused him to die, and starts to kind of carry it around with her. And then this piece of lung, she like starts to feed it, and it starts to grow and starts to like morph into this unique creature. So it deals a lot with grief. We also have, for November, I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones. This was kind of the main reason why I chose this book as my DNF, because I tried to read There by Tommy Orange, did not work out. And then I tried to read this, also did not work out. And I just didn't have the time really to read something in November for Indigenous Heritage Month. Next up, we have the Translation Challenge. So I moved Small Boat out of this. So I've kept the Book of Disappearance, and now I've added Discontent by Beatriz Serrano. Discontent was translated from Spanish. So this follows a woman who works in a corporate career, and she fucking hates her job, like with a burning passion. The kind of hook of the story is that she has to now go on this retreat with her co-workers when she really doesn't want to, and when they don't really know anything about her. I gave this 3 stars. A massive issue with this book, I think, is pacing. We spend so much time in the beginning, not even the beginning, like I'd say like 75% of the book, we don't even reach the retreat, and then the last little bit we spend at the retreat, and it goes by so fast. And that's the most interesting part. I just wish I wish the pacing could have just been a little bit better, and we could have spent more time at the retreat. Someone that hates their job would love this. Okay, and then the next book I have is All Flesh by Ananda Devi. So this is translated from the French. This has not been released yet. I got an ARC copy on NetGalley. This was my first ever ARC copy. This is a book following a morbidly obese teenager. So she has kind of grown up facing a lot of abuse from the people in her school because of the way that she looks, and her father is extremely overindulgent with her, but like to an extreme degree. And he also has this weird way where he's like, he doesn't see her as her own person. He sees her as herself and the twin that she consumed in the womb. It's a little bit intense. It's definitely very literary. I gave this 4 stars. I loved the writing. God, this was translated beautifully. The main theme around this is definitely consumerism. A big thing I took away from the book was the relationship between the body and the self. Like, how much of you is your body, or do you just live inside of your body? And like, how do people perceive you because of your body, and the way that they treat you because of your body? Anyways, so that was the main thing I took away from this book. Highly recommend. I think it comes out at the end of April if you are interested. Then, my baby girls, we have Around the World Girls, Around the World Girls. So in Africa, you can see we have Nervous Conditions by Tsitsi Dangarembga. So I read this at the start of 2025. The only reason I could add it into this was because of secret prompt number 5. So I was able to add 3 books due to this prompt, and this was one of them. I talked about this book in my recent haul because it was one of the books that I bought in 2025. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. If you're wondering, it's in Africa because it plays off in a post-colonial Zimbabwe. Then in the Even Bigger Rainbow. So I added Nervous Conditions into teal. This is the main reason why I chose this book, is mostly just because I love the color that it is. Like, it's just the perfect teal to me. I think it looks a little bit duller on the picture, but the book in person is quite bright. Then the other book I was able to add because of the secret prompt was Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. So for this I gave 3 stars. It's a classic, I think a modern American classic, to be specific. So you follow these sisters, 4 sisters? Is it 4? You follow these sisters as they kind of grow up. So it's a coming of age story. It's very slow paced. I'd say it's very cozy. It's very kind of comforting, like you're there with them as they grow up. But I don't know, I just didn't feel like it was doing anything particularly special to me. I don't know. Small Boat is in light blue. Then I added Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton into the blue spot. See My Thoughts in My Birthday Vlog. I gave this 4 stars. I put All Flesh by Ananda Devi in purple. I put the Death Note Volume 3 in black. I put We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kliewer in white. And then I put Monstrilio by Gerardo, Sámano, Córdova in the 7+ colors, because there's red, purple, green, yellow, orange, blue, and like grey, like the color of the Monstrilio. Ooh, I feel like I need some water. Do I have water? I do have water. I've made absolutely no progress with the Mega Quotes challenge. With my spooky creatures, I added Wayward's son into the vampire category because one of the main characters is a vampire, and they actually kind of explore vampire culture a little bit in this book. It's the second book in the Simon Snow series. Then I put The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinniman into the magic user. So I put this here because all of the characters kind of have the ability to cast spells as if they were in a game. So they can technically like use magic. No? See, they use magic, shame. Then for Become an Avatar, this is where I put my small boat. The background of small boats, I think it's little footprints technically, but it is obviously supposed to represent water. So I've put this in my avatar thing because I've barely touched my avatar thing and I was feeling a little bit stressed. So I've now put this into my avatar thing. As you can see, my readathon is still the only thing I've completed. My animals are better category. I've moved Mouse from wild animals to farm animals. So it's mainly just because I want to put another book into wild animals that I feel like would fit better there. And mice in my head do actually count as farm animals. Okay, look at this clip.
Call me Mr. Bombastic, really fantastic. Touch me on me box, she says I'm Mr. Romantic.
Look at this clip and tell me they're not farm animals, please. So I've added the Gate of the Feral Gods into house pets because one of the main characters is in fact a cat. So it is Her Majesty Princess Donut Anne Chonk. I think that's her full name. But Princess Donut is the cat that kind of came in with Carl into this game world, and she kind of gains sentience and becomes her own full character in this book. So she's a cat, so that's why this is here. And then I read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater in November for my birthday. So I gave this 4 stars, loved it. I think this is an example of one of those things that you soft DNF and that you can kind of come back to with the right headspace, and it's just an absolute joy to experience. I'm so glad I read this. One of the main cast of characters has a raven as a pet. So then I don't think I've made any progress with my queer alphabet. Nope. So I've made no progress with my queer alphabet. My favorite HRCYED 1 prompts have not touched. My BIPOC challenge, I also don't think I've added anything new to. So the new releases challenge. So for this, I've read 2 books. I'm kind of a little bit behind with my new releases. So in October, I read the September new release, which was Discontent by Beatriz Serrano. Then in November, I read the October new release, which was Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I have now at least read the November new release, now in January. So, Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I gave this 2 stars. I did not like this. I think it starts with a really interesting premise. It's this girl that goes to these secret college classes. Like, you have to kind of solve these puzzles to be able to go and attend the classes. This class is about myths and legends in Los Angeles. So like while she's out on a date, she discovers one of these myths in person, the Watchman, who tells you when you're going to die. So she learns that she's going to die the next day. So she has to find the alchemical heart. So she goes on this little quest to try and save herself. Okay, sounds interesting, right? Wrong. Actually, it's not wrong, but it's just I hate. Number 1 was the writing. It really is a thing. I can endure bad writing for like a little bit. Okay, I do have some kind of capacity for that, in allowing myself to read bad writing, but it really starts, especially by the end. I don't know if it's something that happens where it's just like they don't edit the book as much by the end, or what, but it really is something I've noticed with books where at the start it doesn't feel like there's all of these errors or all of these things that make me uncomfortable when reading, but then it just it keeps going. It keeps grating on me, and then I can't handle it anymore. So there was that. Number 2, though, the main reason I hated this was because of the main character. So the main character is so fucking annoying. She has, oh my god, it's literally her, and all the other characters are all of these kind of bad boy male-esque characters that, can she trust them? Can she not trust them? Because the one's saying, no, don't trust that guy, trust me. And then the other guy's saying, no, don't trust that guy, trust me. And the other guy's saying, no, don't trust them, trust me. And I'm just like, bitch, what? And what does this girl do? Every single time she meets up with one of the other ones, and they're like, no, you can't trust him. You can't trust him. She's like, okay, I believe you. And then goes with this one. And then the other, it was a constant vicious fucking cycle that I hated. I fucking hated. I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. Okay, let's breathe. Okay, so for the challenge yourself, I have added The Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. So my challenge is to read 10 classics. So I added that there, and then I also read, technically for the readathon challenge, but I didn't read, like I read like 40% of 1984 by George Orwell for the readathon challenge. So I couldn't completely count it towards that, but because of secret prompt number 5, I was able to add this fully, okay? It's now been fully embraced by the readathon tag, and I could add it now here to my challenge. In my non-fiction challenge, I've only added the memoir by Dolly Alderton, and then we have cues, reviews, and recommendations I've not been able to touch. I'm sorry. There was a book that I wanted to read for this, and I was going to read for this, which was Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. So it's essentially this story where the characters, it's these 2 academics that are trying to complete their PhD in magic or whatever, and they use magic through chalk, like drawing chalk symbols to kind of distort reality. Their professor dies in an accident, so then both of them are like, fuck no, we need our professor to complete our PhD and complete their education. So they go into hell, they go into the underworld to go and fetch him. So they go through like the, how many layers are there? 9, 6, 7, 8, fuck. They go through the layers of hell, okay, and genuinely it felt like I was going through hell with them. I loved the references R.F. Kuang made to work, like Dante's Inferno, and I like how she incorporated that into the story. But something about the way that it was written, just like the pacing was, it made me so uncomfortable, and it made me just so unwilling to continue to read this. I didn't want to go through that struggle. Nothing was pushing me to finish this book. So those are the books that I have now added in for this challenge, and I still have a long way to go. As you can see, there are quite a few categories that are just like one book away from being completed. So I've been making steady progress, like across the board, but I do think I might need to ramp it up just a little bit to just have any kind of possibility of actually finishing this challenge. So wish me luck, wish me so much luck. And if you see me do a TBR game, if you see me do a 24-hour readathon, if you see me do a HRCYED 1 prompt, just randomly, know that this is why. Know that this is why. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you are having extreme and just excellent luck with your own HRCYED challenge if you are taking part. Just have a wonderful day and good luck. Shame. Good luck, soldier. You got this. You got this. I think I got this, but I'm gonna try my best, Shane. I'm gonna try my best, and then we'll move from there. So thank you so much. Leave a like and subscribe, and then I'll see you when I see you. Bye.